Hello and welcome to Angie B Crafts. Thank you for joining me here on YouTube. So today I am going to be doing a challenge which is one of my collaboration challenges that I do with Dawn Ditchburn of Shiny Silver Treasures. And I set it this month and I'm looking at what I set and thinking, why? Why did I do that? So the substrate that we can use is an A4 piece of whatever. So I have two options. I have a piece of card here, but I've also pulled out my Dilutions journal, which is roughly A4 size, and I think I'm probably going to go with a journal, but we will see. I may put it onto the A4 substrate and then into the journal, don't know. But these are the pieces that I basically sent through. I raided what I had and thought, what can I put together that's going to be a challenge? And forgot it was a challenge for me as well. So this is our colour range. I've got these lovely skeleton leaves that have been dyed. So it's not a bad colour range because it's the primary colours. We've got red, blue and yellow, and then we've got a green thrown in. And the colours that we can use are any distressed products, but it has to be in these four colours. We don't have to use all four, but we can use any distressed colours in those four. I then put in a piece of Candy Core card, which is from Kanban, which is eons old, and it's just a paler colour on the back. It's a kind of pinky red. And then I had these, if I just separate these out, these are off some A4 sheets that I got, again, eons ago, that I've used bits of but never really gotten to grips with, so I thought, well, we can both have a selection of them to play with. This is a die cut using a Clever Prints die designed by Emma Blake. These are all die cuts using Pretty Gets Gritty dies. And then we have one other sheet of paper that we're using, which is this, which is one of Ali Reeve's sheets. So these are quite nice for mixing colour onto, but I've gone with one that's kind of masculine to neutral ish, and it's all road signs. So the brief is, we can use one texture paste of our choice. So I've gone with one of the gritty paste. I've picked up the slate paste. That may change, but at the minute that's the one I'm planning to use. We can use one set of stamps. Now I haven't chosen my stamps because I don't know where this is going to go. So what I'm thinking is get this going and then decide what stamp set fits in. But it has to be either a masculine or neutral excuse me, stamp set as opposed to a feminine one. Let me just check. We can have one black ink pad, so I've got my good old trusty VersaFine Claire. And that is it. That's our limitations. And I had to put on, obviously, no extra paper because Dawn is very good at bending rules slightly. She says she doesn't cheat, so we'll just say she bends things a little bit. I think we might change her name to Uri Geller. So that is what we've got to work with. And I honestly have no clue what I'm going to do. What I've done so far for the colours is pull out the different things that I've got in the colours. So there's some green Distress Oxide, some yellow Distress Oxide, some blue Distress Oxide, some red Distress Oxide sprays. I have one red Distress spray stain. I've got a fair few of these distress things, haven't I? And I've got yellow, so I've gone for mustard seed, barn door, and I'm saying that this is the right colour because when I put them together they looked okay. So I've gone for Mermaid Lagoon, and then so that's in just the distress pads, and in the Distress Oxide pads I've picked up Broken China, Fossilised Amber and Peeled Paint. Okay, so they're the colours that I'm limited to. They're distress colours and they match these. So we'll see where we go. So let's start off. I think I'm going to go straight into my journal, you know. Let's commit. So this is my journal. It's getting a little bit full. It's got lots of part finished pages. Let's see if I can find a blank page. I know I've got one somewhere in here. I had found one, but obviously it's disappeared. Oh, there's one. Actually no, that one's got gesso on it. I want to go totally neutral. There we are. At the back we've got one. Just bend it back a little bit. Okie dokie. So, what should we do? See, I want to sing What Should We Do with a Drunken Sailor now. But I shan't. I shall resist the temptation. I'm liking the idea of these being cut out, either into strips or individuals. So, right, we need to use some card off both sheets, but we don't have to use all of it. Oh, we also have the option, if we've got any die cuts left over, of making a second piece of something. So we'll see whether that happens. This is actually harder than I imagined it was going to be. I'm slightly flummoxed. Right, I turn that way. I've now got vertical lines in my head. So this has got vertical line. You can just see there's sort of different lines there. It's paler, but it's pinker on the back. I don't know if that shows up well on camera. It's got more red on the front. And then these can go on. Right, I think I've got an idea. I'm going to start off, put my raggy across my computer and start spraying some ink on. So I'm not going to bother about covering this page. What I may actually do is take a print off it so that I get a second page that gets me going, but I'm going to start spraying some colour down. I absolutely love Distressed Crackle Campfire, so I'm going to start with that. Oh, it's probably a little bit orange, but hey ho, I'm not bothered. And let's add some yellow into that. If it don't, make it really orange. Oh, there we go. I thought it wasn't going to spray. It's not happy, this one. You can see I've made a right mess of this one. Sometimes they just go wrong, but that's okay. They're still usable. Ooh, she says. Right. So there's some yellow. I want to add in some blue. And I think I'm going to be going back in again with the campfire, crackling campfire. So one of the advantages of it being the primary colours, you can see probably going down here more than anywhere, is we're starting to get mixes of colours. So if someone says to you these are the colours you've got, don't panic. And if you're buying new stuff and you're wanting to try something, do it just with the primary colours if it's a new sort of set of inks that you're interested in, because the primary colours enable you to mix the other colours. So I'm just going to take a print off that. That's another page that I did using the Curious Wonders stuff from JMC. Quite like that page. Okay, so we've now got this as our base. So I've used the colours that are there. I haven't cheated, but we've got this glorious, really glorious multicoloured thing going on. I'm going to try and leave some white space, so I'm going to intentionally not cover. So I've just realised I didn't cover my computer entirely, so it's now got lots of ink on it, but hey ho. So I'm going to leave some of that. And I like the idea of these being in lines, but I think I'm going to colour them up, which I will do later. I feel like I'm going to lose some of my bits off the end of my desk, so apologies. Oh, you saw my head there. Apologies. Because I think what we also need to do is figure out if we want to colour up these pieces. I think the answer is going to be a yes to that, really. So what colour should we do them? Well, I think this would look nice in Mermaid Lagoon. So a couple of Mermaid Lagoon feathers that might even get a little bit of yellow on them. I like the idea of that in a red. Okay, let's move this out of the way. So my high-tech method of moving things out of the way, put it on the floor. The best place to put it. And if you saw my floor, you'd realise that's not strictly speaking true, because there is rubbish all over it. Right, so I'm going to start off with the feathers, and I want them in Mermaid Lagoon. I'm actually going to use these, which is just the Distress inks. And I have completely lost track as to whether these, right, they're not producing anything onto my hand, so I'm just going to say it's safe to use. I've lost which of my applicators I intended as Distress Oxides and which were intended as Distress Inks, so it kind of scuppers my concept of keeping them separate. Oops. Oh, I do like the fact you get little prints on there. Right, there's a little bit of blue. Let's add a little bit of yellow. Now you can see that one's more used. I've got lovely yellow all over my hand. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean. So to clean these off, what I tend to do is get my raggy, squirt a little bit of water onto the brush or onto the raggy, either or, and give it a rub. And just rub it in several places so you're getting as much of the ink off as possible. They do obviously get a proper wash as well occasionally, and it is occasionally. I'm not brilliant at cleaning things off. You can see there's a lot of colour on there, so we need to get as much as we can off. This is why my raggies end up so multicoloured. So you can see that's coming up much cleaner now, so I'm happy enough with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we'll now get a little bit of yellow and just add little bits of it. I don't want it all over because I don't want to change the overall colour. I just want to make it, as you can see there, I'll lift one up. Oop. You've got a hint of green going on there because we've added some yellow. So yeah, as I was saying, if you do get new inks, new dyes, whatever, use the primary colours, because that means you can mix to make anything, which is really helpful. Right, I think I'm going to go a bit traditional with this. So again, that's going to be yellow. We'll add some yellow on like this. I don't know where these are going to go on the make as yet, but you know what? We need to get things started and see where we end up. And one of the things that I like about these restrictive challenges is the fact that you don't know what you're going to end up with, and it's not things that you would necessarily put together. I kind of like the challenge of seeing what my little brain can come up with, and sometimes it's okay, other times it maybe isn't, and that's fine. It's still an opportunity to figure out what works together and what doesn't. Okay, I'm thinking to do the base I might stick with the blue to do this bit. You can get blue painted metal, can't you? There we go. And then if we take it up a little bit, you can see we're starting to get a bit of green going on there. And again with this one, take it up just a little bit. There we go. Right, that's my light bulbs done. I'm happy with them. That's my feathers done. Right. Seem to have lost some bits. Oh, there they are. I knew I had 3 of them. So the heart, I'm going to be traditional. I'm going to go red, and I'm going to go fire brick in oxide. Oh, actually, I really like barn door. Right, I'm just going to take one of these little ones because I don't think they've been used at all. No, totally clean. So the brushes that I've got, oh, I quite like the fact that this gives, because it's little, it's giving an interesting effect. These brushes are just cheap ones that I got off, it was either eBay or Amazon, I couldn't tell you which, but they came with a range of different sizes. I think this is the smallest one, but I quite like it because it's giving texture. So just pouncing that onto there is giving us a little bit of texture, which is kind of nice. And it also means we can go around these edges. What I may well do before I put these on is go around some of them with a black ink pad, since we're allowed one, but we will see. It's going to kill me not having a black pen. Am I allowed a black pen? Just let me check the list. Now, why didn't I say I could use a black pen? See, I'm a fool to myself. And I'm also thinking, which colour am I going to use to provide shadows? But we'll come to that later. Right, so these are leaf-esque. So let's stick with the traditional leaf colour. We'll use this lovely Lucky Clover Distress Oxide. I do really like this colour. I tell you, this colour goes so well with this crackling campfire. The two of them together are just stunning. Just let me get something to lift these off there. There we go. Okay, so what do we think for this? I'm not going to colour this yet because I'm thinking that I might choose to do it in different colours and I might chop it up a little bit. What I am going to do is very quickly blast these and get them dried off, because they've not, the die cuts that I've done myself have got, they're just a paper. This has got a coating on it, so the ink's not absorbing in quite as much, so I'm going to give them a quick blast just to dry them off, and then I'll be back. So these are the 3 leaves which are now pretty much dry, and while I've been drying them I was wondering whether to add a little bit of texture to them, because I've not got a black pen to add veins to them, but we could add a little bit of texture. So we'll try it on one and see if we like it. So as I said, this is the Gritty Slate paste from Pretty Gets Gritty. I love the whole range of this black set. I think they're so each of them is individual, and gives a completely different finish. And the slate is one that I've not used as much, to be honest. I've used the granite paste loads because I got that on its own in the first instance, and then I got the whole set. When I finished that granite paste, I got the whole set, so I then got the graphite and the slate. So I've used the graphite a fair few times, but the slate I've not used as much. But that's giving our leaves a little bit of texture, which I quite like. Right, what are we going to do next? Just give that a quick wipe on a raggy. Right, we haven't coloured this yet, but again I'm going to come back to that because it may be that we use that on the second sheet. Right, let's put these things to one side. And put the inks over to one side, just out of the way, and decide what we're going to do with these. Now I quite like the idea of cutting these up, so I'm going to cut a couple of strips off. Just going to use my trimmer to cut a couple of strips off these. This is the Caterpillar crop, and I quite like it just because of this light, because it means I can see exactly how close I am to where it's going to cut. Which is rather good. Right, there's half a strip on that one, which we're probably not going to use. We might at the edge of a page, but probably not. And let's cut this one like so. Oh, we've got a fly joining us. Hello, fly. This fly has been going round and round the house for the last couple of days, and it's driving us all potty. But none of us really like killing flies, so we just kind of let it keep going and curse it every so often. That nice healthy relationship. If it lands on my food, I'd have a different opinion, but thus far it hasn't, which is always good. There we go. We'll do one more strip. The only reason that I put this back up to the top is I prefer to cut pulling towards me, but this cutter does actually cut, push and pull, and I quite like that, but personally I prefer to cut pulling towards me, and that is purely personal preference. It's not that it cuts one way better than another, it's just me being me. Right, so I've cut 3 of these. I'm going to put the rest out of the way so if I spray it, it doesn't get any spray on it. So roundabout, road narrows, roundabout, right, so they're alternate. I haven't figured that out looking at them on the big sheet, but they are actually alternate. Right, let's colour each of them. So if I show you how well these colour, they're brilliant. I've had them, as I say, for a long time, and I honestly haven't used them as much as I should have, but they take the colour really, really nicely. It's a coated paper, it's from Clever Cuts, that's Ali Reeves, and there's a whole range of them that have different prints on them, but you can still see the prints through them. They're not embossed, but they do show through when you just put ink on them like this. And they take quite a bit of a beating as well, from the point of view of what you can put on them. Right, so there's the blue. I am going to add water to these to get some of the distress feel about them. But first of all, let's add the colour. Right, I need a bigger brush for the black, for the red. That's the word I was looking for. I'll use this. I just love the way that the ink goes onto these. Sometimes they can be, not with the brushes, but if you use them with sponges, the paper actually squeaks, which is really weird. It's the coating on it makes it squeak as you put the ink on. Where's that round so I can get the other end? So I've already, how organised is Dawn? Because I've already received the next challenge in the post. No, I'm only just recording this one. I mean, this isn't due out until the 1st of April. So I'm about a week ahead at the minute. Dawn's is already set up, ready to fire out on YouTube. And she's already sent me the next one. I was like, whoa, that's so organised. And I'm not at all organised. Organisation is not my go-to state, let's say. I am chaotic. I did actually do some Marie Kondo stuff, and if you haven't heard of Marie Kondo, just do a Google of her. She's I want to say a Japanese lady, but I wouldn't swear to it. But she basically teaches you how to declutter, and she got a series on Netflix which I've watched some of and then got a little bit bored of, but the concepts, if you watch her on YouTube, her concepts are really cool, and it just teaches you things like how to fold so that you can still see your clothes. And it stems, useless information for you here, it actually stems from after the tsunami. There was lack of space for all the people who lost their houses, lost their homes, so they were having to reduce what they had, and they had much less because they lost a lot as well, but they were having to squeeze what they had into a very, very small space. So the importance of minimalist and careful folding really came into play, and she's actually made a living out of teaching other people how to do that. So I do that. I'm really, really proud of my knicker drawer, which is again a bizarre thing to say, but I love it because I can see all my knickers in one go. I don't have to root through piles and piles of knickers. It's brilliant. And the same in my sock drawer. I can see all my socks. Don't look in any of my other drawers, but those 2 drawers I'm really, really happy with. Right, so you can see Distress Ink is designed, it's Tim Holtz who designed it, and he designed it so that you can actually get a kind of distressed look on your work. It looks a little bit worn, a little bit tired, and it does that. And there's lots of other companies that now have similar water-based inks that have the same sort of thing, but it enables you to actually remove some of the colour. And if you want it to stop, you need to heat set it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Get the heat gun out, give this a blast, and then come back. Right, I've dried these off now, And because I'm working on this paper, we've actually got some colour transfer from the paper onto here as well. There's some little touches of blues and greens gone on, but that's fine because it just all adds to the texture and the overall feel. So what I need to do now is figure out how I'm going to put all this together. So I'm going to pull my journal back up and let's see where we go. I've now got the song, where do we go from here, in my head. Does anyone else do that? Say things and then just get lots of songs going through their head based on what you've said. Oh, I'm liking this. I love how this has come out. It's brilliant. What you'll find with the Distress Oxides, I didn't obviously add any water onto this page, I have to the Distress Inks. You can add water to Distress Oxides as well, but you get a chalkiness to them, and sometimes that can come off when you're not expecting it to. So don't be fearful if you find there's bits coming off, that's perfectly normal. Okay. I'm thinking this along this side, but this kind of needs to be torn. I've managed to get ink on it. That's impressive, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to be brutal now. This is really nice because it's called Candy Core for the simple reason the core is kind of a paler colour of the main dark colour that it's got. In fact, because of the curved corners, and to save me having to figure out how to cut a curved corner, I'm actually going to put that here on this side. Trim a little bit off. What I do like about this is because it has lines on, it's easier to trim off. Because it's just a straight line across. May still need a bit of a tidy up at the end, but that's fine. This is just giving us a general gist of the situation. I don't think I want that on top, I want that separate. We could have that and that down the side. I've no idea where I'm going with this at all. Not a cotton picking clue. And it makes no sense either. The things that I've put together make zero sense. Right. Right, I'm going to start sticking because it's the only way that I'm going to actually commit to doing anything. So I have bought some new Cosmic Shimmer glue. I'm a little bit excited about it because look, it comes out. I don't have to spend ages tipping my bottle and shaking it and swearing at it. Not that I would swear, obviously. Maybe saying, oh, you cotton picking thing, please let the glue out. Words like that. And then pop the lid on. What I have discovered with this, because my other bottle decided, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, that it was just going to explode over the top. But what I've discovered is when you finish, you give the bottle a squeeze to re-inflate, to let the air back in. It sucks anything at the top in, and if you put your lid on, it stops it exploding over the top. Because I ended up with like a volcanic eruption of glue, which was very strange. But that will prevent it. There we go, a bit of pinky ready. And considering this is red as well, this has gone more orange. See, I'm thinking maybe it is a little bit more orange. I maybe should have stuck with a fired brick. Oh well, too late now. I did it. Right, chop that about there. Choppity chop. And let's stick. You see, I do want a little bit of black. Where's my black ink pad? I want that to stand out. So what it's doing, if you put in a little bit of black around any pieces you stick on top, you're kind of giving the eye a rest, because otherwise one thing mixes into another, and your eye gets confused more easily. So if you pop a little bit of black around the edges, I'm just going to pop that over there to dry off a little bit, then you're going to get less confusion of the eye. I want 3 on the bottom bit. I don't want them to overlap. So yeah, the black ink around the edges just gives your eye a clue that something's ended and something else has begun, and helps the brain to process what you're looking at. And it's the same way that frames work as well. If you put a frame on something, then you break it up and it makes it clearer what it is you're looking at. That can go on as a whole. I do really like these. I'm purposely not doing the ends of this one because it's going to be right to the edge of the page, and I'll be doing the edge of the page with the black as well. So I'm not overly worried on that one. Right. Move the feathers out, Angela. There we go. Let's start sticking. So I've decided I've put together some really weird stuff. Nothing goes with anything in this kit. I apologise, Dawn. I hadn't realised I'd been quite so weird in my choices. So yeah, if you've not seen Dawn's video yet, please pop over to Shiny Silver Treasures. There will be a link down below this, and have a look at what she's done. So she had exactly the same stuff, and then the idea is we make things with the restrictions that the other one sets. Can be interesting. How to win friends and influence people. You have to quite like the person you're doing something like this with, or else you could end up falling out. But I quite like Dawn, so that's okay. The stuff she sent me through for the next one is just lush. There's some really nice stuff in it. I'm a little bit excited. Yeah, I put together some really weird stuff. I don't know what was going through my head when I did this. Sorry, I just kicked the bucket under my desk. Apologies for that. Let's pop glue along here. So if you not see, my other one, I'd lost the little string that attached the lid. I just kept the little lid. That stringy bit gets on my nerves. Wonder how long it'll last before I pull it off. I'm trying to be really good and pop the lid back on as well, so I don't end up having to stick a pokey tool down it. Right, I'm thinking I want that one. Oh no. I want it true at the top. To the top of a piece if I can. Oh, it's not going to work. Pull you down a little bit. Sorry, I'm muttering there about my placement. I was trying to ensure that I didn't get too much going over the top, but it failed. The bit that I want, actually I might just about get away with it. When I chop that off, there'll just be a little bit of a black line, but I wanted to make sure it came right down to the bottom at this end. Okay, I think what this is doing is showing that really when you're doing a journal page, just putting stuff on it and collaging stuff up can be interesting and can give you food for thought as to what you're going to do. And there's no rules. When you're journaling, there are no rules at all. Now I've just had a thought. I've still got a stamp set I can use, and I need to choose which one it is. Right, I'm glad I've remembered the stamp set. So I'm wanting these down at the bottom, I think, but that may well change. No, I quite like them there. Now I love this. That would look really nice behind there, wouldn't it? Because that's the light shining out. Oh, I like that. I quite like that. Now, I have the option here of trimming some bits out, so I could use it on the separate piece. So what I might do, so that I'm not having individual pieces, is just cut that middle bit out on one thing. Yeah, I'm going to do that, because then I've still got some of this to use on a separate project. Sorry, I was just trying to figure out the best point to cut at. Hopefully I'm not exposing any end bits doing this. We shall find out. And then I cut that there. So we still have an interesting piece there that we can use on another project. There we go, that is still coming out there. I'm going to use you on a different project, I think, now. I don't want that coming now. No, we'll stick with that one on here. And I'm also thinking I'm not sure that they go just yet. They may go on it in a minute, but just now I don't think they do. See that? If I put that on there, it just sinks into it. You know there's something there, but you're not particularly drawn to it. If I now put black around this, it will make it pop, which I think I may do. Depends. If I put it over here, it may not need the black, but I think it's too near to that red bit. It's too much red together, so I want it away from that, because they're the same. This is a different red. Actually, what we could do is pop it on top of one of these. Still needs the black around it, but it's a starting point. What about we put it on the blue, like so, and we could have the feathers coming up here. Like so. Right, I think I'm at the point where I need to choose my stamp set. So I'm going to go and have a route, and then I will show you which one I've chosen. So I'll see you in a minute. So I thought I'd show you my thought process in relation to the stamps. So I've pulled up a few different stamp sets. First set that I've pulled up is this set from All and Create. And I like this because it gives me something for an edge. So I've got this banner, it gives me these light bulbs, which is in keeping with the fact we've got the big light bulb there, and potentially that could lead on to the light bulb being lower down, so it could act as my wire. So that's an option. And it's just got some nice, it's got things like faith, horizon, water with glittering eyes. It's got a thumbprint, it's got this lovely eye on it. So it's got a few different things in there that could be brought into this. This one, no, I don't want that one. Decided totally against that one. I love this one, but I'm not sure it's in keeping. Well, it might be. I like the binoculars in it. Looking through a pair of binoculars is the sentiment that's on there, but it's not really linking in with what we've got now. That one can go. The other one that I really like is this Seth Apter one. So those were all and Create ones. This is a Seth Apter one from Impression Obsession. And it's just got two single stamps in it. One says change and the other says inside. You can even know how much I paid for them. There you go. But that's purely a sentiment. But it is a big page, so I'm wondering if it needs a big stamp. No, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to make that decision. Done. That's the one I'm having. Need a stamping block. I really like the idea that I just had of this being the wire down to that, so I'm going to stick with that. But I also like this as a border. I'm going to put a couple of thumbprints. Right, on these two light bulbs, we've got, let me see, I can't read them with the stamp on because they're not fully aligned. So if I pull that off, Breathing Dreams Like Air is one, and the other one is No Beauty Without Some Strangeness. So there you go. I like both of them. Right, let's get started. Stop chitty-chatting, Angela. Get on with it, woman. Okay, so I can't have my black pen because I didn't put that on the list because I'm a fool. But I can have, I'm just checking, masculine or neutral stamp set. So this to me is quite neutral. So I'm going to use this to get myself a border. I've just realised I've still got loads of mess around here and it's making it rather difficult. I'm just going to shift a few things around because we will still need some of them, but I need to be able to stamp. Right, make sure I've got enough ink on there, and I'm going to start, well, that's a good way to start, isn't it? If you're going to go up to the edge of a page, you need your stamp to be right to the end of the block, because otherwise it's not going to work. Now I'm going to have to stand up to do this so that I can get it right to the top of the page, like so. Now as ever, I am using the All in Create flexible stamping block, but I'm also conscious that this has just completely bent because it's near the end of my book, so we might not, oops, sorry, it just knocked the camera. We might, oh, actually we got a good image there. Okay, that's good. Let's pop a bit more ink on. Then the reason I'm putting the ink quite diligently is because it's going on top of the oxides, and sometimes they can make things not ink quite as well. Right, let's pop another one on. Now I don't want it on that, so I'm going to take a piece of thin paper that I have here and I'm going to butt it up to that so that when I stamp it doesn't go onto it, it's just masked off. Now a logical person would stick that down, but I'm happy to wing it. You can see I'm just nudging stuff out of my way as well, and I've got all the brushes and things still here. I'm just so messy when I create, so things do get in my way. I own that. So there we go. The reason it's not gone quite to the end there is because there's a layer here and then another layer on top, but that's fine, it's still giving us definition there. Okay, I'm going to swap this one over for one of the light bulbs. I really like the sentiment, Breathing Dreams Like Air, so that's the one I'm going to go for, and I'm going to bring that down from here like so, because then the other bulb can go on top of that to make our light bulb. So I'm not worried if I can't see this sentiment. I've just realised I'm talking right next to the microphone on the camera, so I apologise if I've gone very loud. I just want this to be the line that my light bulb is going to go on. So if I now show you my light bulb on top of that, you'll see what I'm aiming for. So that's brought that down into the middle of the page. Okay, it's giving us a much more focused area where that is, which is really helpful. I'm liking how that's looking. Right, next bit. I shall sit back down for this bit, pop this back onto the sheet. I may well come back and use that again, but I want to first of all decide what I'm doing with these. But now I know that that's going to go there. I really like that. We need some fillers to fill these areas. Now we're going to have the love heart there. I like it on top of the blue. Just move that back up a bit for you. And I like these, but I'm wondering if these, no, they just disappear. Well, actually, they're not too bad. I'm actually thinking they give enough on there to lift that, so I put them onto here and put the love heart on top. It gives enough contrast for that to then stand out, because it's not right next to the other red. So I'm not even going to put black around that. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to stick that down before I change my mind. One of the things that I'm really good at is auditioning stuff and then not doing it, or not being able to decide. So what I'm trying to get better at is just saying, yeah, I like it there, and stick it down, so that I don't keep auditioning. Because you tend to find, I think Dawn mentioned it in one of her videos recently actually, you tend to find that your first thought, you know what I've just discovered? This is actually 2 leaves. There we go, it's extra thick. I didn't even realise. I'll just stick the other one straight on top of it, because that's the one I've coloured. There we go. So yeah, Dawn was saying that she tends not to audition stuff, she tends to just go for it, because you tend to find that your first choice is the one you go back to. It's like when you buy a pair of shoes, first ones you try on, well for me it is anyway, I go back to the first ones I try on so often. Just discovered this one is 2 as well. I'll pop one to one side. I'm not going to cheat and use it as 2, because I thought it was 1. There we go. Oh, it's so nice to have a new bottle of glue. It's amazing what makes you happy when you're a crafter, isn't it? Nice new bottle of glue. I'm happy as a pig in muck. Okay. I wonder if I'll ever be a tidy crafter. I think that's probably being highly optimistic. Right, so we've got that, that's done. I want to colour my little ray, and I'm wondering, do I want it to just be the same yellow? I think probably I do. Yeah, I'm just going to put some yellow, maybe a little bit of red in there as well. So we'll move this out of the way. Oops, drop everything in the process. There we go. I remember years ago hearing the term floordrobe, as in a wardrobe on the floor, being used for, it was by a colleague of mine whose daughter was quite messy when she was a teenager, and she talked about her daughter's floordrobe. And I thought that was really cool, and that's kind of what I've got for my crafting. My floor is absolutely covered in all sorts. It really is. It is a mess. I've got lots of wheeled trolleys, and they can hardly move at the minute because I've got so much stuff on the floor. I can't actually wheel them anywhere. I must organise my craft room. But the thing is, I'm one of those, I start organising my craft room, and as I'm doing it I go, oh, that'd be nice to make something with, let's just have a play. It's troublesome. It is troublesome. Right, so we've now got this lovely sheen of yellow coming out from there. Quite like that. Might want a little bit more yellow. Let's pop a little bit more on. Slightly brighter. Oops. I'm intentionally pulling away as I'm doing this rather than going towards, so that I'm trying not to scrunch up these sticky out bits. That's the intention anyway. There we go. And I'm also thinking that just little hints of red, so I've not added any extra ink on, but this is the brush that I've used with the red ink, so it's just whatever's on there, and it's just picking up any lips from the die cut. So we're now starting to get, I don't know if you can see on there, some little hints of red around the edges of the little circles. So again, it just adds interest to what we have. Okay, now I want to use some of my structure paste on here to structure paste, texture paste even, to add a little bit more up here, because this tends to be a more 3D part. So let's add some texture. So I'm just giving a kind of inclination of the screw-in bit of a bulb. That's all I'm trying to do. So we've got a hint of it going on there. Bring that up, I can't lift it up now. Bring that up to the camera. So I've just put some lines going across just to say, yes, this is the screw-in bit. We know that's a screw-in bulb. Okay, right, so I'm going to dry off this end and then carry on with the construction. So I'll be back once this is dry and we can carry on making the page. So I've now dried off the light bulb, and I'm going to stick that like so. Oh, I like how that looks actually. I do love this die cut, I think it's brilliant. Right, I'm going to use the high-tech method. See, I've already forgotten to close this and it's struggling to come out. I'm a numpty. I'm a numpty, I'm a numpty, I really am a numpty. Sorry, that's the sort of song that I sing to myself quite frequently. So I need to figure where this needs to go. You know what would be clever? Stick it onto the back of here first. Oh, Angela, you're a genius, so you are. A genius. So let's whiz some on here. Whiz this onto the back, but looking at it from the front, so we know we get it where we want it. Want it a little bit further around than that. Right, so that's now in place. So now I can just pop little bits of glue off the back of my hand onto the sticky out bits and get it everywhere else as well, because I'm skilled at that. See, high-tech methodology this. And then we can pop this on here like so. Genius. Once that's dry it will rub off because it is just PVA glue. There we are. Now I have realised I haven't put any underneath this bit, so we'll pop a little bit on there and squish that down as well. There we go, they've stuck pretty well. I've just got bits of glue everywhere now. Oops. But not to worry, sure they'll come off. Oh, I'm liking that. Happy crafter. Okay. So I've used both bits of paper. I've used one of the light bulbs. I'm wondering, could put one of the other light bulbs there, couldn't we? I quite like that. So this stamp set that I've chosen to go with hasn't got a sentiment as such. Oh, you know what I think is going to look cool though? I like it when I have bright ideas. Bright ideas with light bulbs. I am so on it like a car bonnet. Right, which way up does this go? That way. Yeah, so it's that way, because we could stamp that on there. Yes, genius. I'm getting a bit excited by this one. Don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting a little bit excited. Right, I'm having to stand up again for this. so that I can get it in the middle as much as possible. There we go. So ideally I'd have had this idea before I stuck it onto the paper, so that if it went wrong I had the option of getting another bulb. Doing it this way is a little bit more risky, and plus it's not doing it onto a smooth surface, so it may miss some bits because we've got obviously the die cut underneath, but we shall see. Oh, that's come out really well. Yes, there's some bits missing, but I can fill them in with a pen. Or I actually quite like the bit that's missed. So if you imagine the die cut behind that, that's roughly the middle of it. But it says here strength, which I just think looks fab. Oh, I think I chose the right stamp set for what I'm trying to achieve. Happy crafter. Okay, I'm thinking that I might pop a couple of little sentiments around. I'm going to get another stamp on here, but not for use, it's just because I'm doing a small one. If I just show you on here, if I tried to stamp this without another stamp, this is going to wobble, so there's a lot of movement. If I just put a steady stamp on, I can stamp this one, just ink up this one, but it's not wobbling. I've not got that same movement because there's another stamp there just supporting it, so that's a useful tip. Oh, I could put a word on there, couldn't I? Because you can use the stamps more than once, particularly when they're little like this. You can use them several times on the same project. So I'm going to pop that there. There we go. So that's like old-fashioned typeset, isn't it? I like it. And I'm just going to pop it at various points across the project. Again, I'm going to stand up to do this and hope I don't whack the camera. And the only reason I'm standing up is because it's a big page. I've not got a lot of room on my desk to keep it within the camera shot. Ordinarily what I'd do is move it around, move my page around. If I'm doing that, I want it there. Don't be afraid to move your stamp around on your stamping block so that you get the best image you can. I'm also going to give my stamping block a bit of a wipe because I've got ink on it. Because this is, oh, you know what, I'll do that on that corner. We will get there. It's just about figuring the best way so that you get it where you want it. So I want it to sit like that so I can turn it round on my stamp block. So you don't have to perfectly align your stamp on your stamp block and stick with that. They move, they unstick. Oh yes, I like that. Now I have another word on there which is horizon, so I'm going to use that as well. This is just adding some background. I'm going to use that not with black, I'm going to use it with a different colour, but I'm going to keep the other stamp on so that I've still got that balanced, and I'm going to use the blue Distress ink. So this is Mermaid Lagoon. Now another thing that's a good habit to get into is, if you're on the back page, is pop something underneath here to get it balanced. But yeah, I've not done that obviously, but it is handy to do that. I'm just adjusting the position on the block again. I'll stamp it there. Oh, you know what, I'm actually really liking this page. I wasn't sure, I think that really is needed there. So I'm going to stick that on. I really like it now. Diddly diddly dee. Right, once I've stuck this on, I'm going to have a ponder about what else needs to happen. So what I quite often will do when I'm making something is get so far, stop, go off and do something else. See, I've done it with that one as well, look. I hadn't realised how thin the card that I've cut was. I've cut 2 sheets. So yeah, what I was saying was I will quite often go off and do something. Quite often it's having a meal. So I'll go off and have my lunch or my tea or whatever, and then come back and see where it's up to and see what I want to add. So I'm going to stop there for now, go off, and then come back and decide what else I need to do to finish it off. But I'm really liking how this is looking at the moment. I think we're nearly there. Right, so I have had a look at this. I've kind of gone off and done some other stuff and come back, and I'm actually happy with where it's at. I'm just going to do a quick check of my list of things. You know what I haven't used actually is the feathers, but I'm going to use them on another project. They were just to give me the colour really, but I haven't used them. I'm going to use them on another one. Or should I bring them in? Oh, see, brain fade now. Where have I put them? I've lost them. Well, I would use the feathers if I knew where on earth I'd put them. But they've gone. I don't know. So apparently I'm not using the feathers on this one, and I will try and find them to do on the additional project that I'm going to do. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how this is looking now. I think it's using the necessary piece. What I would choose to do, what I'm going to do is actually chop that. So I'm going to open this up and just cut that overhang bit there. So yeah, I'm happy with how this looks. What I would ideally do is put a frame on it. Let me have a look at this stamp set. Can I get a frame out of it? I suppose I could use that. No, I don't like it. We've not got a black pen in it in the challenge, and it's killing me not to. I'm just trying to figure if there is a way. What about, right, I'm going to put a little bit of blue ink just on the edge of my mat and pick it up. I'm just going to see. That's not fine enough. Let me get a finer brush. Oh, that's a finer brush. Let's see if I can do the edge. Yeah, I could do it with that. So then I can actually still get my edge. So all I've got here is a really fine brush. I've put the blue lagoon, mermaid lagoon, sorry, down, and if I just show you on here again, I can get a pretty narrow line. So I'm going to do that and do some edging, because I just don't like a piece that hasn't got a frame on it. It makes me feel uncomfortable, because I think you need something that's just going to guide the eye in. See, there's ways round without breaking the rules. I will have you know, Dawn, it is possible to do things without cheating. So I'm just putting this, it's a wiggly wavy line, as my lines always are. I don't do straight lines. I'm just going to put a bit more water on my brush because it's getting a bit dry. Pick up a little bit more paint and then go up this side. I'll go from the top actually and come down. Bear in mind that I'm putting this over water reactive colours as well, so you're going to get a reaction with the colours. Add on a bit more water. I think we're getting a little bit too watered down. Just move that paper over, pop a little bit more ink down. So it's just about taking your time. So if you haven't got a black pen, you can still frame your work. And you could, I suppose, if I'd have chosen a black water-based ink, I could have used that to frame around it. Now we have got a frame going on here because of that, so that's okay. I quite like how that's looking. Now because I still have distressed products that I can use, I'm thinking, I'll just give that a mop up, that maybe we could do with a few little splitty splatters, but I don't want them on this, so I'm going to use, this is my paper with my list of what I can and can't use on the project. I'm just going to cover that, so it's not, you can see I've not cut it into the exact shape, it's just a general shape that is going to prevent splatter from going on it. And I'm going to use yellow because it's nice and bright, and I'm going to use the edge of this. Get a bit more. I do like a bit of splatter. And I'm thinking, oops, it's in a big blob there, never mind. So you can see from doing that I'm getting a big build up of colour here, and that's purely because I've been splatting with it, so it's just forced some of it up. So I'm just going to wipe that off, and I would say to you, if you notice any leaking or anything with your bottles, just clean it off because it just maintains the ink a little bit better. I'm going to add some blue as well, so just going to do exactly the same. Oh, I'm quite liking this now. It's amazing the difference that putting a frame on and a few splatters. So you can see this one started to leak as well, and it's because I'm not shaking them as I should. I haven't been taking the cover off and covering over, so you end up getting them into your bottleneck. So just, if you're doing it properly, you would take the cap off and you would just cover this and then shake them so that you don't get that leakage. Okay, I'll remove this, and there we have it. I'm actually really pleased with how that came out.